Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Attorney General has been contemptuous of this committee and of the Congress. He was contemptuous last week when he didn't come, when he couldn't dictate the terms of the hearing. He's contemptuous this week when he will not bring forth papers. The chairman has tried to reach an accommodation with the Justice Department. All cases in the past when such issues have been raised about grand jury testimony, the Attorney General has gone with the majority party, the chairman, to the district court and asked that that information be released to the committee for its purposes. This Attorney General has not done that. If he would have done that and tried to make a reasonable accommodation to join with us in going to Judge Howell, we might not be in this situation. But there's been nothing reasonable from this Attorney General. Mr. Sensenbrenner talks about people on the periphery. We don't know who those people were, but we know that Bill Barr decided which testimony would be redacted because people were on the periphery and to protect their reputations. This is the same person who gave a 3.5-page summary of the Mueller report that did not, according to Special Counsel Mueller, who knew it better than anyone else, reflect the character and the spirit of the report. And he knew Mr. Mueller objected to it for not being an accurate representation of his work, and yet he did it. And when asked about it by Mr. Christ in committee, he had no idea that Mr. Mueller or anybody in the Mueller Special Counsel investigation would have objected. That's not true. He lied when Mr. Christ asked him that question. That's beyond contempt. That's a lie. So we're depending on Mr. Barr's determining who was on the periphery and what their reputations would suffer. We're talking about the opportunity for Congress to do its proper oversight as described in Article 1 of the Constitution, which is being trampled upon. The Trump administration refuses to respond to any subpoenas, destroying Article 1 and Congress's prerogatives. Now, we had a question, I think it was maybe the ranking member said we should be doing legislation, and how many signatures, how many bills have been signed into law by this committee? Well, ask Mitch McConnell, who has declared that the Senate is a graveyard for all legislation that comes from the House. We have passed outstanding legislation out of this committee. It's gone to the graveyard, where Mitch McConnell, who first kills Supreme Court nominees of the last president of the United States in his 1 year before, and voids and frustrates the constitutional prerogative of the president to nominate members to the Supreme Court, but now frustrates the other House by not having hearings whatsoever. Somebody said we're afraid. Yes, we're afraid. We're afraid of the loss of the rule of law. We're afraid of the loss of the power of Congress to be an independent and co-equal branch of government. And we face that today if we don't stand up. And somebody else said that Russia, there are no connections and nothing with Russian collusion. Well, the Mueller report said there was sweeping and systematic efforts by the Russians to influence our election, and they were done so to help Trump. And the Mueller report showed lots of connections between the Trump campaign and Russia, lots of contacts, and didn't show that he had all of the elements to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that they conspired together. There's a big difference between not having connections and having guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Then Mr. Trump gets on the telephone with Mr. Putin and has a 90-minute conversation or something like that where he can see on a phone call that he smiled at him and he gets flattered and never broaches the subject of Russian interference in our next election or Russian interference whatsoever. That was one of the prime parts of the Mueller report, that the Russians interfered and that our intelligence officials had confirmed and told us, and that our FBI has told us, and that we know they did it in 2018 and they're going to do it more in 2020. But our president did not even mention it to Mr. Putin. That is scary. We are afraid of interference in the 2020 elections, and we need to be. And we need to be because we've got a man who has been suggested might be financially dependent on the Russians. Why would he be financially dependent on the Russians? Well, we now know he lost over $1 billion in a decade in the 80s and 90s. He was broke. No bank would loan him a penny. He was broke. And if it weren't for him being president, he'd be in prison with Michael Cohen today as individual one, and he obstructed justice as the Mueller report says it so. We are in danger. We need to respond, and we need to act for the people of the United States of America. I yield back the balance of my time.